What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. And today, we got to talk about Mystikal being sentenced to 20 years and what this really says about talent, fame, and character. And I'm going to be straight off the rip. This is not about a rapper having a bad day in court. This is a story about a man who had chances, had fame, had money, had warning signs, and still ended up in Angola because his own actions kept catching up with him. Mystikal was one of the most recognizable voices in hip-hop. The energy, the voice, the records, the No Limit run. All of that made him a name people remember. But talent don't make you a good person. Popularity don't mean you have morals. And hit records don't erase what a man does when the music stops.
And Young Jazz from 97.9 The Box are here on The Factor Uncensored to talk about this craziness out of Louisiana. Rapper Mystikal arrested over the weekend, Sunday, and placed in Ascension Parish Jail for false imprisonment and rape. And Young Jazz, this isn't the first time he's been accused of this, right?
No, I believe the first time he was accused was in like 2003. And then I know also Mystikal served like 6 years in prison already. And then there was another altercation that also happened in 2017. So this is the third thing that has happened to him regarding all that.
Is this crazy, J-Mac? Are we believing this, or will we let it ride in court and see what happens?
I think you should, but I always say where there's smoke, there might be a little fire.
And that's a possibility. He's been accused twice before. How are the fans reacting to this?
Man, people all on the internet are saying, I can't believe it. You mean Mystikal has to do this? You know, he's 52 years old. He's been in the game a long time. I'm sure there's women willing to do whatever he needs done sexually.
But I feel like people also think a lot of times when it's somebody in high power, a celebrity, an artist, a rapper, an athlete, that they don't have to do those kinds of things. But some of those guys still get aggressive too and, want their way and stuff. So it doesn't automatically mean that because, he's a rapper or something, he doesn't have to do that. Because a lot of times we see those are the main ones that be getting caught up in cases like this.
And it could be, Young Jazz, it could be about control. When you talk about rape, you take away someone's power, and it may be something that he's just into.
Right. Exactly. You never know. And the fact that it's just like, it feels like a repeat, like even maybe a three-peat is also, it's not really a good look for him.
Man, after that first time, he should have stayed away from people unless he has cameras, unless he makes some signed paperwork. All of that. So, like I said, you got to wait to try the case in the courts. That's the only way we'll see if he's telling the truth and he didn't do anything, or maybe he did something. We'll never know until the courts come.
And of course, have we heard who the victim is, or the victim saying anything? Have they released anything in the police report as of yet? Obviously, this is an alleged rape victim and they're not going to release their names, but sometimes people come forward or say things.
I saw a report that said in the story that allegedly, like the girl, like they got into like a physical altercation and she tried to allegedly maybe take some money from him or something. And then she was raped, and then she called a friend from Baton Rouge. And then by the time she got to the hospital and stuff, they said that there was enough evidence that kind of matched her story with what she was saying so that they were able to arrest him.
But Young Jazz, if they did a rape kit or anything like that?
That's what it sounded like, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's what it seems.
See, Jazz, this is so crazy to me because you know what? Anybody could blame something on Mystikal because he has a bad reputation already. So they're going to get you first because you have a bad reputation, Mystikal. You got to stay away from stuff like this.
And is that a possibility, Young Jazz, because he has that reputation? Someone would use that against him.
That's true. He could be a target for something like this because of the way it looks just off surface level. But you never know. Like J-Mac said, we're going to have to let the courts decide and see what really happened.
The headline says 20 years, but the real story is bigger than just a number. Mystikal didn't walk into that courtroom as a young man who never faced consequences. He had already been through a major case years ago. He had already lost time. He already knew what a courtroom could do to his life. So when a man with that kind of history ends up back in front of the judge, you cannot just call that a mistake. At some point, it becomes a pattern. And that is what makes this so disgusting. It is not just that he got sentenced. It is that he kept getting close to the edge and still moved like the rules didn't apply to him. That's what ego does. Ego tells a man that his name is bigger than the consequences. But the court don't care how many records you sold when the record in front of the judge says something else. And this is why I think people need to stop romanticizing every celebrity. A person can be great on stage and still be a piece of shit in real life. That is why we have to be honest about Mystikal. The music may have been powerful, but the man kept showing a side of himself that is darker than any song.
FBI team now. Michael Tyler, better known by his stage name, Mystikal, faced an Ascension Parish judge today. He's been locked up since his arrest in 2022 on rape and domestic violence charges. Our Chris Nakamoto spoke to his family and has more on what they had to say in this. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good evening, Greg. His mom told me she's praying for her son, but family members and his longtime friend declined to comment further today. This is video of them exiting the Ascension Parish Courthouse just after 3 o'clock this afternoon. They were in court all day waiting to hear what a judge would do to update this case. He was wearing a bright orange jumpsuit as he sat there in court with the letters APSO on the back. Mystikal has been held without bond since his 2022 arrest on rape and domestic violence charges. He's entered not guilty pleas to those charges. Today, attorneys for all sides agreed they'll meet again next week to discuss future dates for the case. A gag order is in place in this case, which prohibits attorneys on both sides from speaking about it. A trial date and bond review date could be scheduled soon.
The sentence landed hard because this was the maximum under the deal he took. Remember, he was facing something even worse before the charges were reduced. Then days after sentencing, he tried to pull the plea deal back. The judge didn't let him. And that part matters because when a man takes a deal and then tries to step away from it when it gets too real, it makes his accountability look shaky. Then in court, Mystikal said, if I did that to you, I deserve the maximum sentence. That line is important because of one word, if. That word leaves a door open. It sounds like a man trying to look remorseful without taking full accountability of what got him there. And after everything that's been attached to his name, that kind of half-ass apology don't sound right. You cannot keep showing up in the same kind of storm and still act like everybody else is misreading the weather. The courtroom did not need a performance. The woman who spoke in that room didn't need a conditional apology. She needed the truth to be treated like it mattered. And the judge gave his ass the full 20. Now, he is 55 years old, and he is going to spend a large part of what is left of his life locked up. That is not something to celebrate, but it is also not something to soften. A man threw his damn life away, one decision at a time.
Rapper Mystikal has been sentenced to 20 years in prison without the possibility of parole on a third-degree rape charge.
A case we were following closely. Louisiana First News reporter Michelle Maslon has the latest details from Ascension Parish.
After years of legal proceedings, the case against Louisiana rapper Mystikal reaches its conclusion. The 55-year-old New Orleans native, whose real name is Michael Tyler, was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
I think as a celebrity, sometimes trouble finds him.
Prosecutors say Tyler sexually assaulted a woman at his Prairieville home in 2022. During the sentencing hearing, the victim delivered an emotional impact statement. She told the court she was raped and tortured for hours while pleading for her life. She went to the hospital where she was given a rape kit, which showed injuries consistent with her account of what happened. She said the assault continues to impact her physical and mental health 4 years later. Tyler spoke before the court imposed its sentence after hearing the victim speak. He said, "If that's what I did, I deserve every day of this sentence. I'm sorry. I hope you heal." The judge thanked both for addressing the court before handing down the sentence. Tyler will receive credit for time already served. Upon his release from prison, he'll be required to register as a sex offender. This is not his first conviction for a sex crime. Tyler previously pled guilty to similar charges more than 2 decades ago and served 6 years in prison. He has 30 days to appeal Tuesday's sentence. Michelle Masson, Louisiana First News.
This is where we have to talk about who Mystikal chose to be, because this was not about a lack of talent. This wasn't about the world refusing to give him a chance. This was about a man who had more opportunities than most people ever see and still kept moving destructively. Whether drugs were a part of this specific situation, that's for the court to decide. But you don't see a pattern like this without seeing control, ego, and something deeply broken in the way a man views other people. This is the piece people don't want to say out loud. This kind of behavior don't come from normal confidence. It comes from a man who thinks his desires matter more than a person's safety. There is no way to dress that up with old music. We grew up hearing Mystikal, but that does not mean we owe Michael Tyler any respect. Some people are even bringing up his old song, Pussy Crook, because the title now feels too close to the life that followed. I don't want to build a whole case around a song title, but when a man's art, image, and real life records start pointing towards a negative direction, people are going to start connecting the dots. That is what happens when a persona stops feeling like entertainment and starts looking like a damn warning sign. And maybe that's the bigger lesson here. Hip-hop has always had room for dark characters, but we cannot keep confusing a dark character with a good man just because he made music. Mystikal had time to change. He had time to humble himself. He had time to become something different than the worst parts of his history. Instead, he is now sitting in one of the hardest prisons in America with 20 years attached to his name. That is what it looks like when consequences finally get tired of waiting. And for anybody watching this who thinks fame makes somebody a good person, let this be a reminder. Fame is light. Character is what you do when that light is not on you. Mystikal had the light. The character is where the story falls apart. So I'm going to take y'all out like this. Mystikal is not a victim of bad luck. He is not just another rapper who got caught up. He is a grown man with a long record of choices that finally put him in a place that his name can't save him from. I will never say a man can't change, but change requires truth, and truth requires ownership. That little word "if" showed me that he still wanted to distance himself from what happened. The judge did not give him that distance. 20 years is the price he now has to pay. And when people ask how somebody can throw their life away like this, the answer is painful but simple. A man can be talented enough to move a crowd and still be broken enough to destroy his own life. Mystikal just proved that. And now he has 2 decades to sit with what the music could never hide. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.